Ready here, Terran, I'll watch you out. Have a good stream, and I'll talk to you all later. Alright. Ready here, Terran, I'll watch you out. Have a good stream, and I'll talk to you all later. Alright. Ready here, Terran, I'll watch you out. Have a good stream, and I'll talk to you all later. Alright. Ready here, Terran, I'll watch you out. Have a good stream.
Have you ever looked into my eyes and saw the love? Have you ever asked yourself what makes your feelings rise above? Your kisses make me feel so high. When you touch me, I could fly up to the sky.
Oh, that finished playing quicker than what I thought. Well, where am I? All over the place tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's an unscheduled stream, so we'll have to thank John for that music. I thought we played the whole version of it, because it went for... I played the right one. 3 minutes. I thought it was 4 minutes 18 or something. I played the right one. Thought I did. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just grabbing a few videos to... Just a few short ones that do. They're all a bit longer. Mr. Sensible's got another channel out. What else we got? Peanut's got any video suggestions? If I've missed any?
Sorry, Terry, I had myself on bloody mute here am I chatting away.
Yeah, I'll already thank you for the music that you're playing. I was thanking you and...
Sure, mate.
It finished quicker than what I thought. I thought I could grab the wrong one.
No, you're right, mate.
Because I said it went for 4 minutes 18 seconds. I said it's 18 seconds too long, but this one was 3 minutes 51.
Yeah, it was a little bit mumbled at the start, but she's all good, mate. No worries.
What else is out there? Sleeping Warriors on the Ball by 42. I don't understand what that one is. Oh, that's just a mini one. Simon's done another one here. I'll grab it anyway if we get time to play.
We looked at the Mandela.
And Katz hasn't actually made one for a while. I'd have to check his channel and see if he's done anything lately. Just looking for any debates that's happened lately.
Yeah, I'll tune out a debate.
We've done Brian's Logic redefines the Nautical Mile. We did that one, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think.
I don't think we did the one that was posted like 8 hours ago.
Is that Bruce?
Tuesday, December the 14th. No, that's definitely one we haven't played. That's definite. What else is there? There's definitely no debates. Doris Guns, it's Saturday already? What did I do Thursday evening to miss Friday? We're confusing Dora. And I bumped into somebody over on Bob's server the other day. I don't remember who it was. Judy, somebody? That's in our chat?
Judy Bassett?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's the first time she spoke to me in the own voice.
Very nice, I believe originally American lady who now lives in Finland.
In where?
Finland.
Oh.
You know, Scandinavia.
Oh, okay.
Up between Sweden, up between Sweden and Russia.
No, it's definitely Friday, Dora. Definitely Friday. What else we got here? Now, Bob's is always too long. Bob, you got to make them a bit shorter. Quantum Eraser tries to do maths. Be alright if I had the original, a bit of the original video of it, just that bit, and then we could play that. Bob's got his whiteboard out. Phil brought out one, a 13 one, Flat Earth of Brian's Logic reveals the secret held for millennia something. What else we got? How far back I can go. Raichi Ways Density, haven't we watched that one? How far back was that one? There's the 13th to the 12th. When did I stream last? Would it have been the Saturday, the 11th? Or the Wednesday, the 8th?
It was not Wednesday, it was Saturday.
It was the Saturday.
Saturday that's just gone.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we definitely haven't watched that one then. Okay. Wolfie said had a flirt on his open mic night. Okay, well, I don't know which one that would have been. And to find that one. Yeah, December 11th. That would have been the Saturday. Which one's the McToon one? Wolf? Ruhif did one. 10-minute. Tweedledum. I don't know what that one's about. And I should start watching some of these ones. Just looking for some dirt for yous.
There's a great derp at Jose Gary Weber with his rubber bands.
Okay, is that a video?
It's a short, but it's a classic, mate. Really good.
Okay. What Jose's got it?
Yeah.
Or Gary. It's on Gary's channel. Or Jose.
Jose's.
Okay.
He's trying to explain angles with rubber bands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Oh, it was really good.
Well, I don't know where that is.
I'm just looking for it, mate.
Okay. Is that Alan typing an essay?
It is. Hang on.
Yeah, that's alright. I could play more of John's music while we're waiting. Can you... Hey, can you provide a plan of all future unscheduled shows, please? I don't know how I do that one. How do I document all the unscheduled ones? Where was I? I'm getting sidetracked. What was I doing? Yeah, we don't even know if we've got a question tonight because Paul's not around.
There you go, Terry. Got the link for you.
Where?
A private message
Oh, okay.
at top. Yep.
Not in Discord.
It's on Zoom. Zoom private message.
No, it didn't come through here on mine.
Okay, I'll go to Discord then. Okay, first circle serve. There you go.
Now where did you put it?
First suck.
Oh, okay. So that goes for 3 minutes, and that's just a clip, is it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'll have that ready. That'll be interesting.
It is rather.
Who else is there? While that's happening, and Blue's got an 8-minute one of that, so that might have more stuff in it.
Huh.
Oh,
Hey?
you got a wide banger, building boats, mountains, shrink faster at the bottom, and then Jose's got a 3-minute version with the rubber bands. So that one might be actually longer, yours. I'll grab that. That's an 8-minute one. So Jose's done the same thing. Oh, okay. I scrolled down too far. I was looking for something, now I can't find it. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I'm just going to your channel, John,
Oh, okay. Hang on, mate.
and I'm picking one. Oh, okay, that's that one. So it was that one I should have played. That's the one I was looking at. Yeah, we'll play that one. That one. That one.
What you hear is not a test, just bounce to the groove. Free your body and your soul, make some dancing moves. This beat got me feeling naughty. Come on and rock with me, little shorty.
Come on, baby girl, let's ride to this year. All around the world, I'll be blasting this year. Know you like the bands? Come on, bring your friends here. I got a couple of homies who just got here.
Sexy boy, you know that I like you. Sexy boy, you know that I do anything for you.
Come on, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, mommy.
I'll leave that. Okay. Yellow flow. Let's get this show on the road. I'll come in here, Bandy, and have a chat. Tell us about your plumb bobs. Okay, what have we got here? Don't need that. Okay. What have I got? Okay. Well, I'll play the link from Gary's channel for that one, and then we'll start the road off with that one. Oh, Gary's not around tonight. He didn't. My bobs have been drained. Well, you coming in or not?
Oh, Benny. Come on, mate.
Come on, Bandy, come and play.
Yeah. Been a while. Come on, buddy.
He's probably out of practice because he hasn't been around. Or he's lost his plumb bobs. Did you lose your plumb bobs,
Oh wow,
Bandy?
that would be painful.
Yeah, he must have lost them.
I hope not. I mean, who'd want to lose their?
Yeah,
Who'd
we
wanna
know
lose
you,
their
we
plumb
exact we know exactly what we're going to say. Well, Blue's lost his balls.
No, he hasn't. He knows exactly where they are.
Oh, okay.
I always know where my balls are.
Yeah, but you can't play with them whenever you want.
Mm,
You were meant
That's
to.
true.
You're meant to be going to play with them, but I don't know when that was going to be.
Well, I still got some little ones left to play with.
Ah.
I got a whole box full of little Edmonds.
You could make a mini Cavendish.
I thought about that.
It wouldn't work really that well, would it? Not enough mass in the little one.
I was
What?
I was very surprised by that little demonstration. You know, in your latest video, Blue, that little miniature apparatus they set up.
Which one?
Yeah, which
In
one?
the,
One I haven't played yet.
the one you haven't played yet. That's why I'm being a bit like, I'm trying not to be too much spoilers.
Okay. Oh, he's a passenger on his way home from the pub. Well, we got maybe one more stream before Christmas, Bandy. So you definitely have to come in either now and the other one. It's the end of the year. I had my birthday the other day. That's why we didn't stream. I had a barbecue Sunday, and I was drinking from Sunday till now still. So it's still my birthday. All the way to Christmas. And then I finish in New Year.
Yeah, Holland blood.
You'll have to wait till he gets home and then see what he does. Alright, what was I doing?
The big question is, do we want do you want a post pub Bandy?
Oh, he's not too bad.
No, I mean, you know.
He might have thought of something new.
True.
I want to know what he thinks about the experiment they're trying to do with that line. I think I spoke to somebody about that. About that, how ridiculous it was, their experiment. I still can't understand it, what they're trying to achieve. I mean, I've got a rough idea, but it just sounds so ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, the problem with suspending any piece of line is the catenary effect. And I know I've probably mispronounced that because.
Oh, it's a big
Paul
word.
likes-
I don't know what big.
Paul
I don't,
likes
I
to
don't know
point that
big
one
words.
out to me.
I don't know big words.
Centenary.
The effect that makes them always have some curve in them.
Yeah. Centenary sag.
Yeah. Well, they said they're not worried about that. All they're worried about is how much it's going to affect the scales in the middle or something. That's all they're worried about. Not worried about pulling it taut or anything like that. And I'm listening to them explaining it, how he's doing it, and talking a bit amongst themselves. And I was muted at the time, and I just basically just face palming the whole time. Oh, Benny reckons it has merit. Okay. Well, the positive attitude towards it, yeah. You think it's going to work? Well, if you can explain it to me how they're setting it up to what the results they're going to do. Oh, there's John on his tractor. Now go forward, John. Forwards that way. Yeah, that way, yeah. You've been drinking again on the tractor.
Yeah, mate.
Or you fixed it and now you got it going the wrong way. Oh, I'll play this video. This is Gary. Building boats and mountains shrink faster at the bottom than the top. Reverse compression effects. How you use language, don't watch the McToon open mic one. Okay, swap that over. Share. Where is it? There. That's these guys out of the road. The P word.
Play.
So, why things don't shrink equally? with distance, and why the bottoms will shrink drastically quicker than the tops. These nails are the observer. Close, further and further from the building, from the bottom too. He's equal to the first floor. He's in between the first floor and the top of the second floor. So he's in the middle between the two floors. You notice he's got this wide angle here when he's close up. Well, that also gives him a wide angle down here to the ground. Now, as it moves further away, this wide area becomes much narrower. And because you can see this angle drops down, right? So these two, the one going to the bottom and one to the top, they're compressing with distance. And they compress drastically from here. And then even more here. These are the lines that bring things to your center of your vision as you move away. You'll see it in a smaller space the further you get. Now we're going to show you how the angles from the top change differently. The ones at the bottom keep getting smaller and smaller as they go away at the vertex. The vertex, vertex, vertex. Okay, now we still have our observer in the same place from the same starting position. To the top here, he's got a narrow angle compared to what the bottom had, a big wide angle to these two.
Stop, please, Terry.
And it starts off narrow. Now you have an angle to the surface here too, to the side of the building.
Oh,
Right. The reason why the angle is now much narrower is very simple. The bottom of the lowest point of the thing he's looking at is now twice as far away, and the top part is 3 times as far away. So of course the angle is much bloody smaller. And the reason why the other two don't change nearly so much is very simple. That change in distance by moving it up is relatively much smaller for the further away things. It's kind of, well, I wouldn't necessarily say perspective 101, but it's certainly perspective 102.
yeah. But why's he got the rubber band going up to that point there, if that's meant to be the building? Why's he got it?
Well, he's now looking up at the top floor. Well, when you're standing right at the bottom of a building, and you look up at the top floor, it all looks compressed, doesn't it? Because
because you're close to the building.
You get close to the building, but suddenly instead of it being suddenly the top of the building's twice as far away as the bit of the building at your eye level or more, and of course the problem is that the top of the floor is even further away than the bottom of the floor because you're so close to it.
But your field of view doesn't work that way. Like if you're putting it as
well, no, because you're looking at something that now isn't directly across your field of view, are you? You're looking at something that you're looking at. You've basically turned the object from looking at it square to looking at it at a considerable angle, and that always changes the perspective of things.
observer in the same place from the same starting position. To the top here, he's got a narrow angle compared to what the bottom had, a big wide angle to these two. And it starts off narrow. Now you have an angle to the surface here too, to the side of the building. It's very narrow right here. But that is called foreshortening, because the closer the angle to a surface, the more foreshortened the information will be in that area. Now, as the observer stays at the same elevation, moves further away, you notice the vertex at this angle increases a little bit. It actually gets wider. Why? Because this angle now gets wider. Here was the first one. Here's the second one. It's much wider. So you increased the distance, and this became wider here. So with increased distance, you changed your angle of view and made it wider.
So he's not basically wrong. He's just explaining it different, if you want to put it that way.
He hasn't. He just, yeah. At the moment, he's just explaining it different. But I don't. Yeah, it's wider because it's not at such an extreme angle. You haven't moved the ends relatively so far.
Yeah.
So of course it stays a bigger angle. And of course you have to take into account the fact that you're now looking at something that's not at a.
Well, if you had a big enough rubber band, he could go out further again.
Yeah, see that. I'm going to say because the other thing you'll notice that he hasn't made the moving away pins. He hasn't put them at equal distances, has he? He's put them at.
Yeah, he's got two further away and he's got one close up.
They call that reverse foreshortening. Now you get to the third one. You're further away yet. It's even wider than here. This one is wider than this one. This one is wider than this one at the vertex. This one is narrow, or this one is narrow right here. This one is wider.
No, he said he says his angle of the view gets bigger. That's wrong.
And the last one is even wider. So as you move away, the bottom or the top stories actually increase in size. They don't decrease because you've reversed the foreshortening effect. So your vertex down here at the bottoms, at the distance, became wider, whereas the ones on the bottom kept getting narrower. So the ones at the bottom are diminishing faster than the ones at the top, which are actually getting bigger. Now you do have the angle change, which this angle...
Okay, and if you move back sufficiently far, there will be essentially no change in the angular size that you started with by moving up those number of pins, because the vertical change will not make any significant difference because of the extended distance. You know, you'll be just looking at a slightly, you'll be looking at a slightly different angle, but eventually it will get to the point where you're going to struggle to measure that difference.
Yeah, but he's saying it's getting bigger as you're getting it further away, but then if you're getting further away, it gets the area that he's looking at also gets smaller from you being further away from it.
But what I mean is the angular once you get sufficiently far away, the change in angular size as you move because you've moved it up will be insignificant, because the distance it's moved will be insignificant as well. So that change in angle of view of the object will be insignificant.
I just don't know what point he's going to get to, if any.
Is not as steep as this angle, which is not as steep as this angle. So that's bringing everything down, and yet you still see more of the surface area here with distance because this is increased.
Wrong, you see,
This is why
they all see the same. The vertical surface, they all see the same amount of vertical surface all the time.
Yeah.
Because we can all see from the bottom to the top. It's just how much of the field of view it takes up, and that changes because obviously, well, I mean, everybody knows if you take a stick and look at it, and square on from the middle, it's going to look completely different to if you rotate that round so that you're looking at it end on from underneath, from away from it.
Yeah.
bottoms of mountains, bottoms of buildings.
John's trying to throw some math in there. 2 meter observer height, 10 meter target, a 3 kilometer distance, bottom angle off perpendicular, top angle. The bottom angle is 47 millionths of a degree off perpendicular. Angular compression? Question mark.
Bottoms of ships.
Same for me, Flo. I don't get it either, what his argument is.
All become smaller quicker than the tops. That's why they will become unresolvable quicker. There's no getting around any of this. This can probably also be applied to things like Polaris, right? Your angles are going to behave similar. So anyhow, do with whatever you want with this. Nobody thought it was possible, but it is.
But what was possible?
It's reverse. It's the reverse foreshortening effect. That's what I'm going to call it. Okay. Pretend this is looking up at a building instead of sideways. Just pretend you're looking up. Look at these two sections right here from these poles. From a distance, it was a narrow field of view, but as I get closer, it's too wide. I can't fit it in the frame.
Yeah, that's field of view.
From that pole
Hmm.
to
Well,
that
call
pole,
attention to
the
the
first two stories.
number of cows it takes to keep an eye on Gary.
Yeah, I was looking at
Wide
that.
angle. Look though.
Close.
Now
Far
pretend I'm looking
away.
at the side of a building. It's foreshortened to the top. Now all these poles are equally spaced, but they don't look like it in here because they're foreshortened because I'm close to the side here. But in a second I'm going to move just a little bit further away.
John said, wait for the cows to yell, no! That'd be a good soundbite to put in this video, wouldn't it?
Now look at the reverse of the foreshortening effect as I gain a wider angle.
Where's your soundbite, Alan, when you need it?
To that end.
I'm sorry, mate. I didn't start the soundboard. I mean, I can, but it'll take a while for it to fire up. I
Yeah,
apologise.
okay. Well, it's an unscheduled show, so I don't know if that means you should have been ready for anything, or...
I should have been ready for anything. If somebody can find a reason to blabber on for a bit, we'll get there.
Oh, okay. Well, I was trying to work like he did hint at just at the end of that when he was talking about the rubber bands there. I'll just play that bit again. No,
Okay.
not that bit.
Possible, but it is. Things like Polaris,
Yeah, that's it.
right? Your angles are going
He's trying to throw Polaris in for the angles.
Yeah,
But I'm trying to think, how's the foreshortening work for that? Because
it's a point. It doesn't have any foreshortening.
yeah, because Polaris is the distance where Polaris is. You're not going to have that effect.
Look,
You're going to have the angles on the ground like one line towards it because it's okay. So I wonder if that's where
he'd have to aim the rubber band at either end on just one pin.
somebody did mention. Who said they? Oh, I think John said it. You haven't got a visual representation of that one, John. And I thought, John, like John said, it's like a foreshortening into perspective using arts and drawing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things why we use different focal length lenses, because with different focal length lenses, you can get the same. You can end up with things being the same physical size at the focal plane, but because you've been able to move further away or closer to it, you can change the relative sizes and shapes and stuff around it. Anyway,
John Rapp said Gary did another rubber band video, same board. Okay. Can you pop that link up, John? I'd have to go looking for it while I'm doing this. He makes my brain sad. Cows are what? WTF, man.
who is this, by the way?
Gary.
Oh, it's Gary.
Gary's a regular flurfer in the peanut gallery.
Yeah. Gary G.
Yeah.
Gary W. rather.
He hasn't popped his head in tonight.
Yeah, crockets. I wouldn't after this
Yeah, well, it's the wrong day. That's probably why he doesn't realise we could have streamed today. Anyway.
to behave similar. So anyhow, do with whatever you want with this. Nobody thought it was possible, but it is. It's reverse. It's the reverse foreshortening effect. That's what I'm going to call it. Okay, pretend this is looking up at a building instead of sideways. Just pretend you're looking up. Look at these two sections right here from these poles. From a distance, it was a narrow field of view, but as I get closer, it's too wide. I can't fit it in the frame. From that pole to that pole. Those are the first two stories.
He's saying it when he was further away from it, it's a narrow field of view, and when he's closer to it, it's wider. I thought it'd be opposite if he's looking at something right in front of him.
Yeah, when it's that's the thing. Foreshortening works because you're looking at things that are further and further and further away. So yeah, the angle between the closest bit and the furthest bit changes more each time. So they look closer and they look smaller and smaller. It's exactly how perspective works.
Yeah.
You move away from it. So instead of looking at the line he's looking along now, look along the line the other side. You'll notice that the uprights look further apart at the same distance. Yeah, that's because, of course, because you've moved away, the angular difference between them is slightly. It doesn't move as much, so they still carry on looking further apart.
Like we're looking at the poles now, like just in that frame.
40s. One,
And
two.
that's the foreshortening that he's saying.
Close up, wide angle.
Yeah, the close up.
As
Yeah,
you
the
look-
close up view like that.
Yeah.
But
when
the
you
ones
like
further
that-
away are closer together. That's the same
Yeah.
thing as what he's saying about the building.
And now if you look, now he looks this way. The ones on the poles on the right hand side are all close together, but the poles on the left hand side now look further apart because you're looking at them from further out. So their change in relative distance is slightly less because you're further away from them to start with.
Yeah.
Look, though. Now pretend I'm looking up the side of a building. It's foreshortened to the top. Now all these poles are equally spaced. But they don't look like it in here because they're foreshortened because I'm close to the side here. But in a second I'm going to move.
They're close to the side. You mean you're close to the side view of the poles?
Yeah.
Just a little bit further away. Now look at the reverse of the foreshortening effect. As I gain a wider angle to that end.
Yeah, because your
But
relative
look-
distance to them has changed.
Yeah. You've moved away from the.
What happened here?
It's just called perspective.
All of a sudden those two sections fit in my frame.
Field of view.
They've decreased.
Oh, they
in
filled
my
in your
field of
frame,
view.
If you're looking at that with your
While
own eyes, you'd
everything
have more
down
of a
there
field of
has
view.
increased in my field of view.
No,
I have a wider.
He's talking about two different things. Like he pulls up the field of view in one sentence, and then he's talking about the angle, how you're viewing it for the perspective.
Yeah, he does. I'm afraid he just doesn't understand. I
Oh.
think. I can't, and it still doesn't help him for bottoms disappearing first, because that's completely reverse of everything he's showing you here. On with how stuff gets smaller as it gets further away.
Your angle. I've reversed the foreshortening effect by moving further away. And yet, on these two sections, it decreased.
Yeah, because you're looking square onto it, not on an angle. As in perspective, that's how perspective works.
Now I have these two first sections take a big chunk of my field of view. I can't even fit it in the frame. I have to turn my camera from side to side to fit it in. And
I think that's a
everything's
bot
foreshortened
out in the
again,
Pinot
I'm
Gallery,
close.
guys. Can you just report that? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. My peanuts are on the ball tonight.
No, just no. I think it's the answer to that one.
Yep. Open link in new tab. So what's this one? Is this another one? Reverse foreshortening edition. Done this back in September. That one. When did back in September, yeah. I've got this, but I don't think I can play.
Okay, one
Don't
last.
play that.
Nah.
No, do not play that under any circumstances. You'll get whacked.
Wow.
I'd even close that tab just in case you accidentally start it. again.
Yeah, I already have. I'll close that one. Yeah, I closed the tab altogether. What the sound? but not the image.
Yeah, all that Father Ted stuff is really bad to put on.
Yeah. What if somebody
The-
did a parody of it? Would that be against any rules or whatever?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got to be really transformative with it, and yeah, I think I think the problem is, of course, is they're going to whack you, and you've got to fight it, and then it gets, and that can always get difficult.
I'll see what this other one is. This is was this one before or after? This September 25th. Oh, already closed the tab. Okay.
Because the globies got confused because I only took the angle from this instead of the whole top. The bottom 2 stories, the top 4 stories, and I'm going to show why the bottom 2 stories will diminish in size quicker than the top 4. So anyhow, this is a right angle, so it's a 90-degree angle in total from this to this from here. This right here is also a 45-degree angle. This is from the surface, the vertex to the angle to the observer. That plays a part in what I call compression and RC effect later. Okay, now I moved, instead of from the observer being here where it was 90 degrees, I moved it down here. Now the vertex here is 17.5. So my angle has drastically changed at the vertex. It's gotten from big to very small quickly. It's kind of like a parallax type
I would not
thing,
describe that as quickly.
because you're
Yeah.
That's about. I'm trying to estimate it, but it's about 5 times further away. Don't particularly want to have to
From
do
that
the maths in
first
my
one.
head. Yeah, that looks to be about 5 times further away.
1, 2, 3, 4. About 5, yeah. Good guess.
closer to all this, because you're at this more at this level. It's going to change quicker than what the 4 stories up here will when I do this. I'll start out those with the angle to this, and then I'll put it out to the angle to here. And ultimately, when I do all this, that angle at the vertex will be bigger than this one. Oh, and by the way, when I moved it out, this vertex changed to about 7 degrees. So my angle over the surface is becoming more and more narrow. These 2 stories are being seen in an increasingly narrow area of your vision, of your field of view. That's why when it gets narrower, you'll see it more towards the middle of your vision, and it's more compressed. That's why the bottom will seem to rise up, because this, if you go from here, it's rising. It'll be going up. And the same here, it'll be going down, pushing that, making that look diminished and squished in the distance. Okay, now I got the entire top is going to be in my angle. This right here at the vertex is 35 degrees. It's a 35-degree angle. Now my angle for the bottom one, remember, was 90 degrees, much bigger.
The way he's drawing it, it's like as if he's drawing it in comparison to how a camera sees it for the field of view, not how we would see it. Because what's our angle field of view, about 120 or something? That's what I thought it was.
This is much narrower. Well, anyhow, my angle from here to the surface is...
So wouldn't that be more relevant if Gary actually did what the actual field of view angle is? For whatever he's trying to display here with his rubber band?
What was it again? 15 degrees. It was 15 degrees. So this is going to come out. It's going to become wider. This is going to become narrower, but not by near as much as what my bottom did when I stretched it out. And now I'll show you. Okay, this angle at the vertex went from 15 to 55 degrees. So it got much larger. You have a better angle to see more surface area here. It's not compressed or foreshortened anymore. See, when it was closer, I call that angular compression, but we'll call it foreshortening. So I'm reversing the foreshortening effect by moving further away. It was way more foreshortened when it was close. Now it's way less, and I can see a much more bigger picture up here. Now, even though this is moving further away, I still see more. And this is wider than the one I had down here, because this one is 28 degrees. The one I had at the bottom turned out to be 17.5 degrees at here. So the bottom angle is smaller than the top. I know they all got it wrong last night because they were just looking at my angle from here to here, which isn't the whole top. It's only a portion at the top. But as soon as I move it down here, this is what you actually see for the whole thing. So this is what I end up with. Bottom one went from a super wide 90-degree angle down to 17.5. This one went from a 35-degree angle to a 28-degree angle. But this part went from a 15 to a 55 because I reversed the foreshortening effect that I had here by going out further, which compensated for some of this becoming less because it couldn't.
I wouldn't call it an
much
argument,
less,
Flo.
but it's still much bigger. than
Just
this one.
misinterpreting
And if you continue that out,
what our
it'll stay
perspective
the
is.
same. It'll keep doing the same thing. The bottom will keep getting smaller and smaller, and it'll always stay smaller than the top. And because this gets narrower and narrower, it's going to eventually look like it's squished together. Because remember, here was my eye line. Everything is going to squish towards those in your real perspective. So anyhow, I was right last night. Everybody else was wrong.
Yeah, just claim everyone was wrong, and I was right.
Yeah. Way to go.
Well, he said last night, so that must have been a follow-up to something that he was talking to somebody with.
I think it's confusing with focal vision to actual, like when you take a photo of a camera, the whole scene is into it. But when you're looking directly at a vision, you only can see one point of a certain vision. Okay? You don't get the whole picture. With the camera, you do.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. The camera's field of view is
Yeah.
different to our field of view, for one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's right.
regardless of the field of view, it's just him going from the distance away from the object. You just see more of it.
Well, that's right. The field of view expands. It happens. That's why it is. Nothing special about it. Don't know what the point is. It's like a microscope. You get, see the microbes going down, or you go further out, you don't see the microbes. Simple fact.
Okay. Nathan Oakley is afraid of others than the truth. It's blue. And another blue. December 14. Okay. That was 11 hours ago. Okay, I've got them in the right order then. Yeah, that's the actual argument. I'm right. That is all it's about. We could be arguing about couch shed design. He'd always be right. What's that, Wolf? Flo, don't let him hear you say that. What? What'd you say? This is an advanced angle showing the curve from Mr. Ball. Okay. Give me a look. What you got? DIY string art. It's got music in the background. Okay. What do we got here? Blues redefines the Brian's Logic redefines the Nautical Mile. Okay. Oh, that done. Press play, Blue.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Blue Marble Science. How stupid can you be? Well, I'll tell you what, if you're Brian's logic, there are really no known limits. Warning. Severe derp dead ahead. You guys hang on.
Hello, how are you doing? This is going to be a quick video on the truth of what is a nautical mile. Because there's a lot of rubbish out there about them being connected to a globe arc, which is not true. Nothing to do with a globe arc.
Tell you what a nautical mile is these days. It's been defined by the people that do the SI units thing as 1,852 meters.
Okay.
Which is pretty close to being 1 minute of arc of a sphere of the average radius of the Earth. They basically rounded the decimal off the end of the meters.
Ah.
He's full of shit.
Yes, he is, isn't he? Brian, a nautical mile is 1/5400th of the distance from either pole to the equator. It's 1/21,600th of the circumference of the Earth at the equator. It's been that way for a long, long time. You don't get to make up new definitions, my friend.
What is a nautical mile? 1 nautical mile equals 1 minute of degree.
1 minute of arc, Brian, not 1 minute of degree.
60 minutes of degree equals 1 degree. so 1 degree equals 60 nautical miles. Degrees are measured with angles, and angles to the celestial objects measure a difference in degrees from a starting point of 90 degrees.
I said, what's a mile?
For example, an angle that is 36 degrees off the horizon means that there is a deficit of 54 degrees from the 90.
That's called a complement, Brian, not a deficit.
So that's 54 degrees of celestial distance from the observer's position, which gives us a straight line sky measurement of 54 degrees by 60 nautical miles, which is 3,240 nautical sky miles.
No, Brian, those are not sky miles. That's 3,240 nautical surface miles from your position to the GP of the celestial object. Jeez.
So nautical miles have absolutely nothing to do with the surface of a globe Earth. They are a measurement of the sky, which are then translated onto the Earth's surface via the zeniths of the observer and chosen celestial object.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Surface-based measurement is done in statute miles. Statute miles are not a reference of or determined by the sky. Only nautical miles are a measurement of and determined by the sky. There is no such thing as a globe-based nautical mile. The word nautical is defined as of or concerning navigation, sailors, or the sea, maritime. The word nautical has no connection whatsoever with heliocentric belief or claims. There is no globe miles. Thank you.
Dumber than a second coat of paint.
Well, how are you doing? This is a follow-on from my earlier video about the nautical mile. This is called the Nautical Mile Explained, because there were some people on our opposing side who didn't seem to understand my earlier video, regardless of how straightforward it was.
Oh, we don't have any trouble understanding what you said, Brian. What we have trouble with is believing you would say anything that dumb. Listen, the division of the hour into 60 minutes and of the minute into 60 seconds comes from the Babylonians. They used a sexagesimal counting system for mathematics and astronomy. They derived their number system from the Sumerians, who were using it as early as 3500 BC. They liked the number 60 and the number 360 because you can divide those numbers by so many other numbers. 360, in fact, can be divided by every number between 1 and 10 except 7. The nautical mile comes from dividing the circumference of the Earth by 360 degrees times 60 minutes per degree, or 21,600 minutes, such that 1 minute equals 1 nautical mile. That's where it comes from. The statute mile, on the other hand, comes by way of statute or law. It was established by a Weights and Measures Act of Parliament in 1593, and I quote, "A mile shall contain 8 furlongs, each furlong 40 poles, and every pole shall contain 16 foot and an half." Now that's rather awkward English, but it was written in 1593. In fact, you can say the distance of 1 statute mile is actually related to the length of some king's arm divided by 3. That's where the foot comes from. This stuff is well known throughout the historical record, Brian. All you've got to do is look it up.
Okay, this is very simple. Okay, here is the GP of the star. Here is the observer. Here is a 40-degree angle, right, to the star, which is here. Okay, this is the observer zenith here. This is the zenith of the GP of the star. They have a co-altitude. Okay, I'm just going to read this out here. Then I'm going to show a very, very quick demonstration to show exactly what nautical miles are and why there are 60 nautical miles per degree. Okay, 40 degrees of angle. Okay, 40 degrees of angle leaves a deficit from 90 of 50 degrees, which works out as 3,000 navigators minutes, or 3,453.338 statute miles of surface distance. But a more well-known term when referring to navigators minutes is nautical miles.
Well, that brings up a couple of questions. Number one, where can I find a citation for the term navigator's minutes, or is that just something you made up?
Yep, he did.
The question's rhetorical. Don't bother answering. Obviously, this is just a case of flat earthers wanting to rename something that's well understood, like nautical miles. But here's a serious question. How was that sky distance measured in the sky without reference to the ground, Brian? I'll tell you what, though. While you ponder those two questions, you got a big problem. This is Polaris, over the North Pole. We know that each degree of latitude is 60 nautical miles. You guys even agree with that. That means the 45-degree latitude would be 2,700 nautical miles. In other words, 60 nautical miles times 45 degrees of latitude from the pole. Because it's 45 degrees, the altitude of Polaris would also be 2,700 nautical miles. But at a 15-degree latitude, the distance to the pole would be 10,076 nautical miles. That's almost twice the measured distance to the equator. Wow, and it gets worse. At 5 degrees, the distance to the pole would be a whopping 30,861 nautical miles. You guys can't explain this. But I got the perfect solution. Let the Earth be spherical. Let the light coming from Polaris be parallel at every point on Earth as we know it to be. Measure the angle to Polaris relative to our local zenith, and suddenly every distance matches our observations. Now try to come up with an answer for that.
As they had to convert every single navigator's minute into an Earth surface equivalent, and that is why 60 navigator's minutes became 60 nautical miles. Attention, 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 this is the important part. Navigator's minutes are sky miles and have absolutely nothing to do with a globe earth or heliocentrism. Nautical miles reference the sky and statute miles reference the earth. One is for distance, statute miles, and the other is for navigation, nautical miles, or navigator's minutes. Okay, so this is how it works, right? So see this purple line here? This is the 3,000 navigator's minutes, okay, or 3,453 statute miles, right, in a straight line distance. But because it's in the sky, it's not a mile, right? It's not a statute mile. So what they had to do is take all these navigator's minutes, right, once they have determined that distance, which is a co-altitude distance, they then take those 3,000 navigator's minutes and bring them down to the surface of the earth and call them nautical miles. That's why there is that is why there is 60 nautical miles per degree, because there are 60 minutes per degree, right? 60 navigator's minutes per degree. That is why we have 60 nautical miles per degree, but we have 69 statute miles. Statute miles are surface-based measurement, okay? Whereas nautical miles, or a better term for them, navigator's minutes, okay, are a sky-based navigation distance. Two different things, right? Just because they have the word mile behind them, one is statute and one is nautical. Look at the word nautical. What does it mean? It means navigation. It's a navigation mile, right? Nautical miles, navigation miles, navigator's minutes. That's what's going on. So it has nothing to do with a globe, nothing to do with the center of anything or any other idiotic claim. Okay, they're navigator's minutes. That's why there are 60 of them per degree, because 60 nautical miles per degree, because there's 60 navigator's minutes per degree. Now, I can't make it any more simple than this. Either you get it or you don't get it. Thank you.
He's full of shit.
And again, Brian, you don't get to rewrite history to suit your narrative. The nautical mile comes from dividing the circumference of the Earth by 21,600 minutes of arc, which is one complete 360-degree circle. The statute mile comes from an act of Parliament, defined as 8 furlongs, with a furlong being 40 poles and a pole containing 16.5 feet. That's 5,280 feet, decreed by the British Parliament.
Well, how are you doing? This is called Origin of the Nautical Mile. This is the third video in this series that I've made. I've made 2 other short videos just before this. They can be found on my channel.
Did
I
he
may
say
have to make a
turd?
fourth, depending on our opposition, because our opposition
I'm sure he said
have a very,
turd.
very difficult time understanding this, as they have been making a claim for a long time now, which is not correct. And I'm showing how it's not correct. I may have to make a fourth video, and in that I may need to use visuals, the visuals of the latitude and longitude grid, and explain a few things. But hopefully I won't. Hopefully this will get the message through. Let's just say. But we'll see what happens. So, nautical sky minutes, or miles. An 88.3 degree angle taken to a celestial body will leave a deficit of 1.7 degrees of sky distance, which translates as 102 minutes of degree, also known as 102 nautical sky miles, which can then be transferred onto the Earth's surface as 117.3 statuate land miles. Nautical miles are sky miles, statuate miles are land miles. The difference between the two is as follows. Statuate miles are a distance measured in feet and inches along the Earth's surface, but nautical miles are a distance measured in degrees and minutes and seconds of degrees along the sky via an elevation angle.
No, Brian, nautical miles are not measured in degrees. A nautical mile is a distance. Degrees are a measurement of an angle. A nautical mile is 1/21,600th of the circumference of the Earth. You have got this completely wrong.
Also known as the Pythagorean 90-degree right angle, which is constructed via 3 straight lines, where the first line is a vertical zenith, the second is a straight line horizontal baseline, which becomes your zenith distance, and the third line is your angle line of your horizontal. Your angle will be read and measured in degrees and minutes of degree, and these minutes of degree are nautical sky miles, and that is the reason why nautical miles can be used on the sea, on land or in the air, as they originate as minutes of degree along the sky, and the navigator then translates them directly 1 for 1 as nautical sky miles. These nautical sky minutes or miles can then be transferred onto the Earth's surface below, and then if one chooses, they can be converted to statuate land miles, feet, inches, meters, kilometers, centimeters, millimeters, etc. But they originate as minutes of degree along the sky. So nautical miles are only just a straight line sky miles. So nautical miles are only just straight line sky miles that are transferred from the sky to the Earth. They are nothing more than minutes of degree, which are only a straight line sky distance, which is then transferred onto the Earth's surface as another straight line mirrored distance. And the globe Earth has nothing to do with any of this, as is proven by the origin and purpose of the nautical mile. Hopefully this will get the message through. Our opposition are having a very difficult time with this, because they can't understand that they have been led to believe that the nautical mile is something that it's not. Thanks for watching. Hopefully there won't be a fourth video.
Well, let's see if we can summarize this. Navigator miles is not a term referenced in any known form throughout all of history. That's something you just made up, Brian. Nautical miles are based on the circumference of the planet, and they have zippity-doo-dah to do with the sky. Statute miles are a legal distance essentially based on the length of the King of England's arm and the arbitrary definitions of a foot, a rod, and a furlong. And the fact that nautical miles and statute miles are only about 15% different in length is a pure coincidence. Does that pretty well sum it up? There you have it, folks. Brian's logic coming to a clown museum near you in the not too distant future. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget the like and subscribe buttons down there. Shout out to the patrons and PayPals. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Poor Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
That
if I
made that
remember, sorry, Terry.
that made my head hurt, Blue. Him trying to explain all that on his version of it, anyway.
Yeah. I just wanted to add, if I remember correctly, originally the nautical mile I think was supposed to be 6,000 feet instead of 6,057, and a fathom was 6 feet because it was a thousandth of a mile of a nautical mile. If I remember correctly, but maybe I don't. Not a sailor.
Wasn't the furlong in reference to the horse racing back in the day?
Well, yeah, they do. Obviously, as the statute mile is referenced in furlongs,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the fact that horse racing is in furlongs as well is basically just because a lot of the big races date back that far when furlongs and poles and stuff were in common use in this country. They're not anymore, by the way. We might have them in this. We might have them in the system. And I remember at school and stuff when they gave you your trigonomic tables to go and do exams. They had all that poles and furlongs and stuff in the table of in the table of possibly useful stuff in the back because the books were that old.
Yeah.
Well, a mile is 8 furlongs, right?
Sorry?
A mile is 8 furlongs.
Yeah.
A furlong, in other words, is an eighth of a mile. A rod is 1/40th of a furlong. And a rod is also 16.5 feet. Yeah, so if you take 16.5 feet times 40 rods times 8 furlongs, you end up with 5,280 feet.
Which is correct for a statute mile.
Which is a statute mile. The meter was originally defined to be 1/10,000,000th of the quarter meridian, 1/10,000,000th of the distance from the pole to the equator.
Yep.
So where the term league come from? Yeah, like 1,000 leagues or 100 leagues.
Hell, you could make yourself crazy trying to kind of figure out all the damn crazy, goofy
I don't know.
Units of measurement that we've had over the years.
Sorry, please. I don't think league was ever defined in the British statutes, although it is a distance that's used.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever part of the statute of the weights and measures statute of how far a league was.
League's a pretty big number, I think. I can't remember now.
Let me.
Wally seems to have gone through the similar thing.
Okay. Seems a league is 5.55600 kilometers.
Ah, yeah.
Says Google. One nautical league equals 5.556 kilometers, which is let's get that into nautical miles. 3 nautical miles.
Okay.
Well, it looks like Wally's done something similar too. There's something here.
And it also seems that a league may also be 3 statute miles if it's a statute league rather than a. So it seems that a league is 3 of whatever you've got in miles, according to Google.
Well, if you think that was bad, the next one's even worse.
Yeah. Oh, and there was, and that search got me 2.6 billion results in half a second.
Okay, we can have some dirt from Nathan and Brian's logic. Love mints required. I'll play it back to back. This one.
Am I glad Rosie? Do I need to be glad that Rosie made me miss that second Gary Wybenga video by phoning me up?
Oh yeah, because you're on the phone. Yeah. Don't worry, the first one was just as confusing as the second one. Yeah.
Hello everybody, welcome to Blue Marble Science. Why is Nathan Oakley running from this diagram? Maybe it's because it can't work on a flat earth. Recently Nathan Oakley played one of my videos on Brian's logic, and the derp that ensued is hilarious. Warning, you're gonna need some oven mitts for this.
Hillbilly blue balls.
And of course no Oakley interaction is ever complete without an ad hom. Well, I'll tell you what, if you're Brian's logic, there are really no known limits. Warning, severe derp dead ahead. You guys hang on.
Hello, how are you doing? This is going to be a quick video on the truth of what is a nautical mile. Because there's a lot of rubbish out there about them being connected to a globe earth, which is not true. Nothing to do with a globe earth whatsoever.
Actually,
He's full of shit.
yes, he is, isn't he? Brian, a nautical mile is 1/5400th of the distance from either pole to the equator. It's 1/21,600th of the circumference of the Earth at the equator.
Can I address that?
Please. Yeah. Well, for a start, he's after begging the question of a globe. That's the obvious one. But secondly, he's just talking about longitude line.
That's not begging the question, Brian. We got millions of pictures of the damn thing from outer space. And a nautical mile is not just the distance along a meridian, it's the distance in any direction on the surface of the Earth. We'll get into that in a minute.
He's just talking about an actual land or physical distance, land and sea distance along a longitude line. That's what he's talking about on the latitude and longitude grid. I mean, that means nothing. There is 60 nautical miles per degree and 60 minutes per degree. And those minutes are translated, those minutes are measured in the sky, along the sky, as degrees and minutes. And they are then translated or transferred to the surface of the Earth as nautical miles.
No, Brian, a nautical mile is the distance along any great circle subtended by 1 minute of arc. That's what a nautical mile is by definition.
My question is, and I don't know if he's answered it in this video because no one else has been able to answer it, is my main question is, what is the origin and purpose of the nautical mile? Because so far he's just told us at the very start there, he spoke about them being a distance along the surface of the Earth. But what has that got to do with their origin and purpose?
You know, it's a little disturbing that you're even asking this question, Brian. You want to know what the purpose of a nautical mile is? It's a unit of measure. It simply defines a specific distance. Just like a foot. A foot was originally 1/3 the length of some king's arm. Why? Because the king said so. That's why. A statute mile was declared by English Parliament to be 8 furlongs, each furlong being 40 rods, and each rod being 16.5 feet long. That's 5,280 feet. A meter was defined as 1/10,000,000th of the distance from the pole to the equator. That's 1/4 meridian. And a nautical mile is the distance along a great circle that is subtended by 1 minute of arc. It is agreed to be 1,852 meters. That's about 6,076 feet.
The purpose is there's 60 of them per degree. So we measure degrees when we are looking at celestial objects. We measure in degrees and minutes of degrees and seconds of degrees. And they are then translated as a distance. So we use an elevation angle, which is 90-degree right angle. We use an elevation angle to a celestial object. And if we have a 40-degree angle for a celestial object above the horizon, then we know we have 50 degrees. That's 50 times 60 nautical, 50 times 60 nautical miles of a distance. So you're measuring a straight horizontal distance along the surface of the Earth, but you wouldn't have nautical miles. They wouldn't exist because there'd be no reason for them without minutes of degree. They just wouldn't exist.
In the days before we had radio aids to navigation like Loran and more recently GPS, navigation was done by reference to celestial objects. Since the late 1500s, men had known that the ratio of the distance across the surface to the angle from the horizon to a celestial body was a constant. In the early 1700s, sextants came about that were for the specific purpose of measuring the angle between two visible objects. That could be two celestial objects or a celestial object in the visible horizon. And later on, sextants were modified to include a bubble so that the horizon's no longer necessary. You can measure the angle from the local zenith to the celestial object, and the complement of that angle is the same as the elevation angle of that celestial object to the horizon. Now, because we like to use degrees, minutes, and seconds when we're measuring angles, it only made sense to divide 1 degree of elevation into 60 minutes, and to divide the distance along a great circle subtended by 1 minute of elevation change as a nautical mile. That's what Robert Hughes did in 1594, and it has remained that way ever since. What's important to note is that the distance subtended by 1 minute of arc is a constant. It does not change. That is a nautical mile, and you're going to see why that's important in just a minute.
Well, how are you doing? This is a follow-on from my earlier video about the nautical mile.
Know where Blue Marble's commentary is? Because otherwise we're just listening to you. No offence, Brian.
I didn't listen to the video. This is the problem. I didn't listen to the video. I was hoping to play it, and I was hoping he'd have Mohit to be saying more, but obviously he's playing my videos, and he's kind of attacking them. But so far I haven't heard anything from him. So, like, this is it. You could even leave it at that. I don't like if it's not going to get any more exciting than that. But so far I haven't heard any origin or purpose for the nautical mile. Like, why do we have nautical miles? What's the point of them? Do you know what I mean? We know the point of the statute miles, but why do we have nautical miles? Well, what seems to be the case is what they're doing on the globe side. All I've gotten is that a nautical mile is 1.151 times a statute mile, and that they can be converted into kilometers. It's like, who cares? What has that got to do with their origin and their purpose? They're only
30,861 nautical miles. You guys can't explain this. But I got the perfect solution. Let the Earth be spherical. Let the light coming from Polaris be parallel at every point on Earth as we know it to be. Measure the angle to Polaris relative to our local zenith. And
yeah, you're going to need a flat plane for that. Angle? Yeah, you need a flat plane. Can't have a curved adjacent. Want to speak to that, Brian?
Wait a minute, Nathan. I never said anything about a flat plane. I never talked about a horizontal. Read number 3. Measure the angle to Polaris relative to our local zenith. There's no flat plane involved. There's no baseline that you guys yammer on and on about. This is an angle measured from the zenith to the celestial object. You do that with things like, a bubble sextant, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. To do what he's talking about is an elevation angle to Polaris. That requires a flat plane. You need a 90-degree angle. And if Polaris is 40 degree, as I said, just like earlier, if Polaris is 40 degrees above your local horizon, then that means it's 50 degrees of distance. Its GP is 50 degrees of distance, and that's you can only get that. You can only take that angle, and you can only get that distance, which is how they calculate the longitude lines. You can only get that by having a 90-degree right angle. You can't do it any other way. It needs a flat baseline, and that baseline, whether it be 1 minute of degree or 60 degrees from the GP of Polaris, it has to be straight, horizontal, and flat.
So yeah, without any effort, just scrolling through his video, he's starting to reference angles to Polaris. Well, you're going to need a flat Earth for that angle, Blue Marble, and clearly this doesn't address the housekeeping question. We're asking how you can have that angle measurement effectively. The one you've just described in your video, well, we're addressing it, Blue.
Well, first of all, Nathan, no, you're not addressing it. You're talking about a mythical baseline which you guys have just made up. That is not required, and it's not part of the process. You know as well as I do that for a 6-foot observer, the horizon normally is no more than about 3 nautical miles away from you. That means in order to see the GP of a celestial object, you would have to be literally directly under it. That's absolutely useless. But instead of that, let's talk about what happens on a flat Earth. There you would have this baseline that you talk about. So let's talk about Polaris. Now we know, and you guys agree, that each degree of latitude is equal to 60 nautical miles. The 45-degree latitude, therefore, would be 2,700 nautical miles from the GP. Because this is an isosceles right triangle, Polaris's altitude would have to be also 2,700 nautical miles. Now let's go to the triangle calculator. Let's look at 15 degrees, angle alpha. That would be equivalent to a 15-degree latitude. Let's input 2,700 miles as the altitude of Polaris, that's side A, and you see that the distance from the GP, which would be side B, is 10,077 miles. It's that line there. At 15 degrees latitude, the distance on a flat Earth to the pole would have to be 10,077 nautical miles. That's almost twice the measured distance to the equator. And it gets worse. Let's input 5 degrees for the latitude. In that case, the distance from the GP to the 5-degree latitude would be 30,861 nautical miles. I'll say that again. At 5 degrees, the distance to the pole would be a whopping 30,861 nautical miles. You guys have absolutely no explanation for this. But let's do something else. Let's try taking a road trip. Now I got this off Google Maps. Let's take a road trip from Pittsburgh to Miami, Florida. The distance by road is 1,181 statute miles. That's 1,026 nautical miles. Keep in mind the road is not straight and it's going up and down hills. So you expect that road distance is going to be a little different than a straight line true distance. Now let's look at the latitudes. Pittsburgh is at 40 degrees, 26 minutes. That's 40.43 degrees. Miami is at 25 degrees, 45 minutes. That's 25.75 degrees. If we take the difference in those two latitudes, times 60, we get 880.8 nautical miles. Now that's reasonably valid because the two longitudes are roughly the same. And I confirm that by measuring it on Google Earth to be 879.6 nautical miles, only about 1 nautical mile different. And the slight difference in longitude could account for that. So you got a big problem. There's Polaris at an altitude of 2,700 nautical miles. There's Pittsburgh at a latitude of 40.43 degrees. And by the way, that can easily be measured from the local zenith. As I said in my other video, there's no need to look at the horizon unless you just want to. So let's put the distance into the triangle calculator. 2,700 nautical mile altitude, a latitude of 40.43 degrees, and we get a distance from Pittsburgh to the GP of 3,169 nautical miles. Now let's put in Miami at a latitude of 25.75 degrees. Pull up the triangle calculator again. 2,700 nautical mile altitude for Polaris, 25.75 degrees latitude. The distance from Miami to the GP is 5,598 nautical miles. The distance from Pittsburgh to Miami, if the Earth is flat, has to be the difference between those two measurements. 5,598 minus 3,169 is 2,429 nautical miles. The actual driving distance is only 1,026 nautical miles. This is a massive flat Earth fail. Flat Earth falls apart right here. Now, I'd love to hear you guys explain this. Why don't you give it a try? In the meantime, hey, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Ring the little bell if you want notifications. Shout out to the patrons and PayPals. I appreciate everything you guys do. And we'll see you on the next one. I wish him good luck with that.
Yeah, Blue. There is another alternative that hasn't been discussed here, and that is that the measured distances and the angles are correct, and that Polaris is at a different altitude for every observer at a different position.
Well, yeah, that is so absurd. I don't even know.
Well, you know,
how to start. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's not really any place to start with that, but that is another That is another FE possibility, isn't it? And given some,
yeah, if you're willing just to make shit up, yeah. But that's what you got to do. You got to just make up insane, impossible bullshit.
Yeah.
It says that, it no matter where Polaris is not at some fixed altitude. It's at some different altitude, depending on where you happen to be looking at it from.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So are the other alternatives, Blue. So are the other alternatives.
Yeah, I know. The trigonometry just doesn't work. There's nothing you can do to it to make it work.
Correct.
It's like most of the arguments that the flat Earth puts forward, though. Like most everything that Nathan comes up with begins with a false premise. It starts out with something fundamentally wrong, and the fundamentally wrong thing that Nathan does to sextants is draw that silly ass baseline, which is not part of the process, never has been. And as I was trying to point out in this video, you can't see the GP. If you can see the GP, the damn thing is straight up over your head. So that line doesn't exist. The sextant is simply measuring an angle between two objects, any two objects. It can be two airplanes. It could be two celestial objects. It can be between a celestial object and the horizon, the visible horizon. Or it could be from just an angle measured relative to vertical. Any of those work.
Of course.
Except it doesn't work on a flat Earth.
Nothing works on a flat Earth, Blue. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah.
The best bit I like is how they come up with ad hoc solutions to a specific problem. And then if you look a little bit deeper, all of these ad hoc solutions to different problems contradict other ad hoc solutions to other problems.
Always. Always.
Yeah, I think we might finish
Yeah,
up.
when you start...
I'm actually falling asleep.
Yeah, that was a little dry. Sorry about that. But how long's the Where's Wally one?
Yeah, I'll finish off on something. Where is it? That one. I'll finish off with Wally. Yeah, I was up really early this morning and having me tablets. I'm actually starting to nod off. Okay.
You reminded that I remember to take my tablets myself.
I didn't hear the
Oh, the bell
reminder.
The bell went earlier. The bell went earlier, but I was in the midst of sorting something.
So, Wally. There we go.
Hey everybody, Where's Wally here. You might remember me from recent classics such as Where's Wally and Wolfie, Measure R twice, ICANN has 3 bitcoins now please, and Funeral Notice, Year of the Sextant, RIP 2021 to 2021. Well, David Weiss, you asked for proof of a globe, and by that I assume you mean that the Earth is a basic sphere shape.
But how did you get R? Where did R come from? Okay.
Anyway, what follows is a measurement of R, the radius of the globe. I think you'll find this meets your requirements for your challenge for the 3 Bitcoin. And the following proof has been submitted to DITRH and he has conceded that he can't debunk it. Now he wants me to present it to Nathan and the Fed heads. Oh Nathan, I know you'll probably want me to come in on the stream, but I thought I'd let you and the Fed team have a sporting chance. I do love to play with you guys after all. I don't think this will end badly for you. Surely not. So Nathan, just play the next few minutes of the proof. It's much improved from the last time you saw it. And once you've reached the end, I have included a Choose Your Own Adventure section where I have pre-recorded responses to the various ways that you will fail to try to debunk me. So there's nothing much more to say then. Roll VT.
Wally, what on earth do you think you're doing? Stop it.
Oh, sorry, mate. So let's have a look. On September 24, 2021, I hired a telescope in Dubbo, Australia. Wolfie was in Sydney also, and he got out his good telescope that night too. We pointed them both at a group of geostationary satellites over the equator, and their GPS are roughly 0 and 109.8666 longitude. Well, both telescopes observed this group of eclipsing satellites in turn as they entered the Earth's shadow, as this was midnight 2 days after the equinox. So these satellites, they reappeared exactly 1 hour, 7 minutes and 34 seconds later. So taking the frame from both ubersextants at exactly the moment when the satellites entered the shadow at 1:58:08 AM local time, I was able to get simultaneous sightings of the same satellite from 2 different locations. Fact A, the 2 ubersextants were measured on Google Maps to be 281.91 kilometers apart. That's not disputable. Fact B, you can see the same grouping of satellites, and you can even see the same stars passing behind them, although there is parallax there, obviously. Fact C, taken at the same time as you can see the geosats go dark in both telescopes, so we know that it's the same time. And the timestamps from both telescopes are within a few seconds as well. Fact D, the pointing data from each telescope is given, the azimuths and the alignments are all within 1 degree, so we can pretty much ignore those and treat this as a 2D problem and use Muppet View to explain this proof. Fact E, I used plate solving to verify the telescope pointing angles as well. Plate solving is sort of astronomical almanac, if you will, and it's super cool. The difference between the right ascension values also tell me the angle between the 2 lines of sight is just 0.074 degrees. The 2 elevation values are how far above the horizontal plane the sight lines are. This horizontal is derived from the stars themselves, and it's amazingly accurate, and it matches the local horizontal precisely. I also noticed that the Sydney image was not quite centered on the frame like the Dubbo image was, and by counting pixels I worked out that it was 0.2570 degrees of frame shift, which I corrected for. Now this image here on the screen is only the measured facts, so what does all this mean? Well, I added the difference in the elevations to the frame shift correction and the difference in the right ascension values, and it seems that the level in Dubbo is 2.5979 degrees different to the level in Sydney. If the horizontal planes are not coplanar, then the verticals cannot be parallel, and if they're not parallel, then they might just converge. So the verticals at Dubbo and Sydney are 281.91 kilometres apart at the ubersextants. That is the arc distance, but the chord distance is a mere 23 metres different. So that's good enough for me. It changes nothing. They diverge upwards, so they must be converging downwards. So now we have an isosceles triangle with a base of 281.91 kilometres and the acute angle of just 2.5979 degrees. It is simple maths to solve that, just to work out that the 2 large angles, which are the same and are 88.701 degrees. Now a little bit of law of sines, and voila, the length of the 2 sides of the telescopes to where the verticals converge. Now that we have a point of convergence, you want to buy a vowel? Only costs 3 Bitcoin. So I measured the R as 6218 kilometres or 3684 miles. Now that's just 2.5% from the accepted value. Not bad at all. At one point, Nathan and the Adam Meakin did mention, and little Mitchell too, I think, that maybe I should have used the background stars instead of the geostationary satellite. So as a consolation prize to them for not being able to debunk version 2 of the R-proof, I thought I would add a whole new version 4 of the R-proof, this time using the star called ND218853. Enjoy this R-proof, David. It's not going to cost you an extra 3 Bitcoin. I mean, I'm not going to pull a Mitchell on you. Here we go. R-proof version 4. The Star of R. Bonus round. To keep it super simple, I have used the exact same frames as I did last time. 1 from each telescope. The Dubbo image was captured on the 24th of the 9th, 2021. at 15:58:08 UTC, and Wolfie's was captured a mere 12 seconds before that. Remember that fact. The first thing I did was to measure in degrees just how far the star was from the center line of the frame in the right ascension axis direction. The target star was close to both images, but I wanted the most accuracy possible. So I adjusted the right ascension according to the values I just calculated here. Next, I realized that because the telescopes were not tracking, the star was moving across the frame. As you can see here, when I superimpose the star from the previous frame, it is quite a bit further to the right 31 seconds earlier. However, I needed to adjust for just 12 seconds of difference. The simplest way to do that is to use the fact that one sidereal day means the star will be back in exactly the same position in the sky. So I simply divided 360 degrees by 86,164 and multiply that by 12 to get 0.0501 degrees of error, which I added to the Dubbo scope as it was 12 seconds behind Wolfie's, which meant the position of the star had moved just 12 seconds too far to the west. That makes the total angular difference of 2.4892 degrees between the two local horizontals at each telescope. So from this point onwards, the method is identical to the previous proof. I now have an isosceles triangle with a base of 281.91 kilometers, and the opposite angle is 2.4982 degrees. Now, when solved geometrically, that inverted triangle has sides of length 6,466 kilometers, or 4,018 miles. That figure is slightly longer than the generally accepted average value of r, but now that you can see that I've measured the radius of the Earth, then the fact that there has to be a sphere of radius r, it is so obvious that even a 5th grader could point it out to you, mate. So if you're really struggling to understand just what's going on here with these two horizontals that are now not coplanar, it's quite simple. If you imagine that both sight lines have a very narrow angular separation, which means they're virtually following the same path. So then if you draw the horizontal crossing it at Dubbo, and then go 281 kilometers further along it and draw the horizontal at the elevation angle at Sydney, you'll find it's about 2.4 degrees more acute, which means the horizontal in Sydney is tipping away at about 2.4 degrees. It is that simple, really. So there you have it, the radius of the Earth, measured twice, first time to within 2.5% of the generally accepted average value of r, the second time to less than 1.5%. And this is very close, considering that the Uber sextants were very close to each other. Now imagine how much better this will be when Wolfie and I do it again from opposite sides of Australia, with him in Perth and me in Dubbo. And we are going to do that the very next chance we get. So to help you out here, David, I'm sure you're feeling a little bit faint right about now. Here's my Bitcoin wallet address. Just pop the 3 Bitcoin in there and we're done, mate. Now, there's no need to claim that you don't have my 3 Bitcoin. Mitchell assures us all that you do. Have a listen.
Yeah, DITRH claims to have 3 Bitcoin to give out, but doesn't own 3, so how's he different to Mr. Sensible? Well, DITRH absolutely has 3 Bitcoin. Come on, man. He's very, very open about him being Jewish. He definitely has money. He definitely has 3 Bitcoin. And he wants to give it away to anyone who can give us just 1 flat earth proof.
Oh, Mitchell, that was more than just a little Freudian, wasn't it? Might have to put that in the sound file. So if you think I've managed to provide a measurement of R, if you think DITRH doesn't have a leg to stand on, if you think the feds have failed, then drop a comment, #PayWally. Nathan, might be time to send an email to David saying you couldn't debunk Wally. Maybe he's got to polish up those 3 Bitcoins and drop them in Wally's wallet. I see that you've chose your own adventure and ended up in the begging the question section. Well, this is a big one. From my understanding of the begging the question fallacy, it's a form of circular reasoning. To be a legitimate begging the question fallacy, I must be stating the final premise in the initial premise. So if the prosecution says, Mr. Oakley, when you killed Owen, did you hide the knife in your hat or in your pants? That's a begging the question fallacy. See how they just slipped in the did you kill part without actually proving it? The way you guys use begging the question, however, is wrong. If I show the Earth curve on the screen in an initial slide, you lot immediately chant begging the question, even though the shape of the baseline has had no part in the proof whatsoever. I know it's impossible for you to refute the facts that have been put before you, and you have to pounce on anything you possibly can. But when you chant begging the question, you're really saying, we don't have a clue, don't like this answer at all, don't like it, get it away from me. You want to claim circular reasoning? Don't just chant it. How about you prove it? I think you'll find I have done none of that in this proof. Well, I guess that obviates that. Seems you've ended up in the Choose Your Own Adventure Black Swan section. Well, Black Swan, really? Is the date the 28th of October 2021? Am I observing this on that day? Am I observing this in the daytime? Am I on Miramar Beach? Am I hot and humid? Well, I'm hot. Am I above water? Am I even in Santa Barbara or California or USA or the Northern Hemisphere for that fact? Am I 1 foot above the water? Is my elevation angle less than 1 degree? No, 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 and 100 times no. None of these things apply. So your cherry-picking black swan is a black swan non sequitur of logical fail. So get out of here before I turn this black swan into layer 4 of the Wolfpack Turducken Christmas jet engine spit roast. I don't think that could even get any more obviated than that. Seems you've ended up in the Choosing Your Own Adventure section, verifying the GPS distance, Dubbo to Sydney. Well, for most people, this would be a simple GPS lat-long exercise. And on Google Maps or Google Earth, you'd use the ruler tool and you'd determine it rather easily. But you know, I've been waiting for you guys to realise a simple fact. And I have been dropping clues too. For you guys who are holding yourselves up as being experts on celestial navigation, you sure don't seem to know much about it, do you? I've even been calling these telescopes uber sextants, for a reason.
Which is your favourite telescope? That one? Is that your one?
Yes.
Wow. Say hello to Where's Wally?
Hello.
Do you think that a sextant can be used to measure an angle to a star? And from that angle, do you think it is trivial to get the distance of the telescope location to the GP of the star? Now, you won't find star HD 218853 in the navigational stars of the almanac either, but it's not actually that hard to do the spherical trigonometry that the almanac does for you. Now, you guys would not be able to do it though, I'm sure. You only need the right ascension values and the exact time and date of the calculation to determine the latitude and longitude of the GP of that star at that time. Now, I don't even really need the almanac to get the location of the star's GPs, as all I'm wanting is the difference between Dubbo to the GP and Sydney to the GP. And the GP location cancels out, so all I'm left with is Sydney to Dubbo. So let's have a look at that on my spreadsheet. The two Uber measuring elevations, and I adjusted them a little bit because the star HD 218853 was not in the centre of the frame, so I just moved it just a bit to make it in the centre of the frame. Now all I do is the calculations for Dubbo to the GP and Sydney to the GP. So simply the corrected elevation angle taken from 90 to get the complementary angle in degrees, multiply that by 60 to get the navigator minutes, or nautical miles actually. The difference in the navigator minutes is 147.31 nautical miles, or 272.89 kilometres. I can legitimately add to that the difference in the two sightlines. They are slightly diverging by 0.074 degrees, which makes 8.22 kilometres difference. Add those two values and we get an estimate of the Sydney to Dubbo distance as 281.11 kilometres. And I measured 281.92 kilometres from Google Maps. That is close enough for me. And I lol that none of you celestial navigation experts realised that you could measure a distance using a sextant. It's such a classic fail. I bet you guys, when you lose your mobile phone, go, "Where's my phone?" And then you pull your phone out of your pocket and say, "I know, I'll ring it and find out where it is." You guys. Obviated yet again. Okay, so seems you're at the choose your own adventure part for how do you get an elevation angle to a geostationary satellite in a sky vacuum? Well, Nathan, it seems like every time you raise an objection to something or other to do with my fantastic R-proof, it shows that you really just have almost no understanding of actually what's going on. The technical answer to your question here is I don't need to. Let me explain. Because I'm actually doing two sight lines, whatever correction I'm applying to one is exactly the same correction I'm applying to the other, and because I'm doing a difference between those two, the correction cancels out. Isn't that just lovely? So the correct answer is I don't need to. I think we'll just call that obviated. But let me explain further. Well, Nathan, it's actually super easy, barely an inconvenience. The Nautical Almanac has, on the inside front cover, a table for altitude adjustments. It seems to be already taken into account. It seems that any angle above 45 degrees of elevation, the correction is less than 1 arc minute anyway. It seems more so that Nathan has never actually even opened a Nautical Almanac. And finally, Nathan, it would appear that you haven't even thought about this question. Any sight line travelling through the atmosphere bends, you've got a bendy hypotenuse. So what are you doing about that, Nathan? If you're having a problem with a curved adjacent, it seems you don't have a problem with your bendy hypotenuse. But of course, that doesn't worry us because we have correction tables for that in the Nautical Almanac. And it seems that a bendy line can actually be used to measure accurately if you know the precise shape of the bend. Ooh, what about that, Nathan? Yeah, that one's so obviated, isn't it? So here you are at the choose your own adventure part for your claim that a satellite is too small to be able to see.
They're sighting it through the telescopes and getting the reflection off these geostationary satellites at 36,000 kilometers away. So I thought, well, how big are they? Do you know what I mean? Because that's really quite far away.
It's only a reflection, mate. It's not being resolved. Oh, and look at this. As they blink back on, one satellite appears to have a large flat area that catches the light and produces a really nice flare.
We don't know. We don't know what the telescope they're using is. They might come back and say, ha ha ha, you said we wouldn't be able to see it. It's too small. Well, actually,
it's too small to resolve, but ha ha ha, we're not claiming we can resolve it. We're saying we can see the light from it. And for that, 1 pixel is enough.
Dun dun dun, look at this giant observatory. And now I've got a light in the sky. Therefore, everything I've said is true. Everything you've said is wrong. And I've proved it just because I can show a little dot.
Yep. How does it feel to be debunked by a dot, Nathan? Yeah, I'm going to call that obviated well and truly. Okay, here you find yourself at the choose your own adventure part for your claim that the chord length is not the same as the arc length of 281.91 kilometers.
When you're taking that top of the triangle now with the other 2 points, the other point being at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth, it doesn't match the arc length over the top of it. At chord length, they're deriving that, doesn't give you the same value when you've got the actual arc over the top. Well, that's suddenly missing. It's got a flat top to it, right, Brian?
So I multiply the kilometers by 1,000 to get meters. You got that, Nathan? And this calculator shows the chord is a mere 23 meters shorter than the arc. I guess that's busted the different length argument. I'm going to call that complaint obviated. So once more, you find yourself at the choose your own adventure part for the claim that the Al Barberini or whatever that excuse was named. But did you actually check Adam's working? I did, and he was a little bit wrong. What he was trying to calculate is actually only 0.1 degree. And guess what? I measured, using the background reference stars, 0.074 degrees. Well, that's close enough for me. And guess what? I also allowed for that in my calculations. This is kind of embarrassing for you lot, isn't it? Well, that obviated that nicely.
You get it, Wally.
Well, you seem to find yourself at the choose your own adventure for the Goldilocks Fallacy. Now, I'm not sure if this is the right name for it, but this is what I'm calling it, and you can tell me different if you wish. It seems to be a variation on the moving the goalposts fallacy. The tolerances are decreased ever smaller and smaller to ensure that the value is either too big or too small, and it's never just right. Now, this is one that Mitchell from Australia has been committing heaps. He likes to debunk a claim of Earth radius as it's too big or it's too small. Now, I could measure 3957 miles, and Mitchell would go, "Oh, so close, but it's not 3959. You fail, Wally." Oh, and if I did exactly hit it, then Mitchell would say...
Of the R value? So not 3959 miles. What are you getting a percentage error on? Something that has never been calculated, measured, proven?
Seems I can never win, and yet, oddly, I never lose. Sorry about that, Mitchell.
This is not devastating for me at all. Yeah, I was wrong, and I can admit I was wrong. I'll eat a big piece of humble pie.
Shall we call that one obviated? I guess you find yourself at the choose your own adventure for the no 90 degree or flat base required. So the Uber Sextant is fully aligned to the heavens. The polar alignment and subsequent plate solving techniques ensure that, and when properly set up, the telescope knows where it is on Earth and what it is in the sky above it. No horizontal planes, no bobble levels, no plates of Mercury, no verticals, no plumb bobs required. The telescope is able to point extremely accurately to any position. The control software has all the ability of the Nautical Almanac, times about 10,000, because it literally has millions of stars in the database, and these stars are updated frequently. In fact, the Uber Sextant is so accurate that you can even see the Polaris changing position over the years. Now just check out the reticule that Skywatcher Polarscope provides for doing a polar alignment, a really accurate polar alignment. There's a little scale on the side there to allow you to pick Polaris in the exact position it will be in different years. It's in different positions. Fancy that. Okay, that's all about how accurate the Uber Sextant is. But as Nathan chants here,
measuring an angle to Polaris. Our question, how'd you get that angle? I'll answer.
Precisely.
He needs a flat plane to get it.
how do you get the angle to the celestial object? Well, it's super easy. You barely have to think about it at all. The telescope is measuring the absolute angle of the incoming light ray at the telescope. It does not need a horizontal or a horizon or a vertical. And sure, the elevation angle may be reported as degrees above horizontal, but that does not mean that the angle was measured from horizontal to the star like some cheap dime store sextant. No, the Uber Sextant is using the whole sky as its reference. It's way better. Way better than horizontal, way better than vertical. I think I should leave the final note on this issue to Nathan himself. Don't mention 90 degrees!
I mentioned it once, but I think I got away with it all right.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Flatsoid. Thanks, Colin, for bringing this one to me. This is just Own Gold 101. Thanks very much, guys. Obviated yet again.
Do we need to go through all the numbers? Check the math?
No. He just destroyed him.
Well, I'd like
I guarantee you, Nathan. I guarantee you, Nathan and that crowd were absolutely lost right after Wally said, "Hello, where's Wally?"
Yeah, that's where they lost him.
No doubt.
Yeah, they didn't understand a damn thing after that.
No, their numbers, they don't know what they mean.
Well, you got to have a rubber band to understand that, mate.
Yeah, you're going to have to rubber band that.
Yeah.
Gonna need a brain for that, guys.
Oh, well, I'm going to finish up. I'm actually literally falling asleep.
Well, it's a great unscheduled show anyway.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
I'll do another unscheduled one. Like Wally said, I'll let him know when give me the plan of your unscheduled shows. Okay. I don't know how I can figure that one out. I'll do one between now and Christmas or near Christmas. I remember
That'll be fun.
I remember last year we did it around that time.
Yeah.
Or was that New Year? Or something like that.
Yeah, there's Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. Jeez, I can't even spell. Having trouble typing. Yeah, we missed out on Simon and a few other videos. Don't know where Paul was, but a bit of the quiz would have went.
Probably still chasing the ducks.
Yeah.
Well, it's Friday. Nobody expects you on a Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
It's obviously a Spanish show, isn't it?
What's that?
Spanish show, you know. Nobody expects a Spanish show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I hope the Peanuts had fun. I see they were playing with Gary there for a little while.
Yeah, Dora, the only reason that the 2019 one didn't make 24 hours was the Zoom cuts you off after the call has been active for 24 hours.
Yeah, we tried that. Maybe we just start a little bit earlier.
Well, that was the fact that you got to get the Zoom call, so you got to get everybody on the call before you start the stream. So you're always going to lose a minute.
You'll see it's 12:38 here for me, so if I went from now, because it would have been my New Year 39 minutes ago. Yeah, and it's only it's only 1:39 over there for you, and Blue would have to wait all day to the next night for that. I don't know how I'm going to work that one out.
We tried to go New Zealand to at least Hawaii, didn't we?
I'll have to do a double stream to make it go right back around.
I think you did the first half and I did the second half, didn't I?
Oh, okay.
If I remember right, we did that one, yeah. You streamed one half and I streamed the other. Zebulon, behave yourself.
I'm going to play some golf. Oh, I can time you out before I go. Oh, thanks, Alan. Thanks, John. Thanks, Blue.
Yeah, no, thank you, Terry.
We had a few out there. Jeranism, Solarium, Fondle. Who else was out there? Little Wolf. The Monk 72. What is this, the Spanish Inquisition or something? Yeah. Dora. Judy. Tiny Captain. Name Ball. Who else? I'll just scroll up. I'm going to miss somebody here eventually. Oh, 9 o'clock hero. Dimension Flow Rider. Stevie B. Oh, John Rapp left earlier.
Don't forget Carl. Oh, no, he's not
No,
here.
Carl's not here. He didn't show up tonight. Oh, and don't forget Gary.
Who can forget Gary?
I can't see anyone else. Type in the chat quick so I can get a quick shout out if I missed you. Oh, Brainery. That's as far as I can get. So, if I've missed you before, I can't see you now. Yeah, Miss Carl. I don't know where he is at the moment. He doesn't go on any other Discords, does he, sometimes?
Yeah, I think he's pretty busy with his work at the moment.
Stevie said Carl's not well at the moment. Okay. Yeah. Peter says he's in bed. Night, Peter. Yeah, that's what I'm nodding off here myself, Peter.
Yeah, Pete.
All right then. We'll see you on the next Unscheduled show. I can't tell you when that is. Oh, good night, panel. Good night, Peanuts.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, Peanuts.
Yeah, guys.
See you later.
I should have outroed John's music, but I'll try to remember next time.
Yeah, she's right.
There we go. We're out of here.